Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. Matt, we're here in the Saturday morning arcade clubhouse in person, being SMA's Mistake Zone's only real tag team, I guess. I know our boy Rakush wanted to join us as well, but he's watching wrestling, I'm presuming, from what was implied from his end. But Matt, here live in the flesh. But I was thinking, Matt, it's, you have to admit, Matt, it's Starfield week.
Yes.
And if we want to capitalize on that sweet SEO, I feel like we need a timestamp dedicated to Starfield to show that we're also with it. But Matt, couldn't let Todd win, couldn't let Phil win, and I refuse to buy into the early access because, Matt,
Jared,
I hate to admit it, because I played Forza Horizon 6 5 or 6. Oh God, Matt. No, 5. 5 was in Mexico. That was the last one I bought. And I played that on Game Pass, but I did the digital upgrade version, which was the Seasons Pass and early access. And I bought into that. Phil got me there, Matt. Phil got me there because he knows I love those Forza cars. But the power of Phil and Todd couldn't get me to buy early into Starfield, Matt. So I'm waiting. Until the regular release.
Oh, man.
Matt, did you buy into it?
Jaren, I did not. And, Jaren, maybe spoilers for next week. Potentially glad I didn't.
Okay. So, Matt, to earn our Starfield, Matt, our friend Julian, he lost to Todd. He lost to Todd, and he bought into that early access Starfield. And would you like me to share some of the notes Julian sent to me regarding his time with Starfield?
Oh, Jaren, you know I would.
So, Matt, for us to earn Starfield on the timestamps from our friend Julian, secondhand information on our podcast, because that's what the Mistake Zone does. And Matt, from Julian on Saturday, 4:40 p.m., watched an NPC walk into a wall for 2 minutes before I had to push them to get them back on their pathing. Classic Bethesda. Matt, I'd argue that's a feature at this point.
Yeah.
That's a feature. However, Julian, almost a day later, 24 hours later, Matt, today at 4:34 p.m., Starfield thoughts after 10 hours of gameplay. Bruh, this game is boring. For real.
Oh, Jared, that's like basically exactly what I've been hearing everywhere else.
Matt, and I quote, "The fact that they want you to walk from one point of interest to another on a barren planet without vehicles for several minutes is wild.
Yeah.
I surveyed exactly one planet and I don't ever want to do it again, and they expect you to do this several times." And Julian Starfield impressions.
Oh, man.
And I feel like when reviews drop, Matt, so we know how gaming Discord is these days. I feel like at least on the corners of the internet that we inhabit, that a good vocal majority, at least there is a subset of people to kind of pick apart all these AAA reviews and claim that, hey, this game is going to be bad. And as someone without any first-hand experience with Starfield, because I'm saving it, because I'm not going to let Todd and Phil win. From what I read and impressions I've received, I've been hearing, hey, this is just a classic Bethesda game. And I feel like I have placed Bethesda games, jank and all, on this weird pedestal where that's kind of exactly what I come to expect from them now. And as long as I'm able to gain some sort of entertainment, I'm still going to go in with an open mind, but with kind of temperate expectations. Because Matt, as much as it pains me to admit, if you were to look at my Steam play hours right now, Fallout 76, I think I have around 180 hours.
Oh, I didn't know you got that deep into that.
That's before. That's not including the 100+ hours I had on the Bethesda client before it ported over to Steam. So as someone with close to, 280, almost 300 hours of Fallout 76, you can say that I'm close to being a Bethesda apologist because, Matt, remember, what was it, 10 years ago now, when I played through Skyrim, and I loved Skyrim, but I played through original Skyrim on the PlayStation 3, so I come from a place that experiences all this Bethesda jank, but I think the real test with Starfield, and this is what I'll come to the show next week with, is the last time I really played a Bethesda game was 76. And some years have passed even from that. So I'm really curious to see where I am in my life and my gaming habits right now. If, as much as I might put up with the Bethesda jank half a decade ago, a few years ago, I wonder if me in 2023 will still be able to put up with that. And based on all kind of the mixed, because I think all the reception so far to Starfield has been pretty mixed, where I'm just really curious to see where I land specifically, because again, Matt, I played a lot of Fallout 76, and I'm now curious if not only I still like this style of game from Bethesda, and if it's really true that this is the tried and true Bethesda formula without that much innovation. I wonder if that even holds up in 2023 now. But before we dive into it in the following week, Matt, while you're still, hands free from Starfield, is there anything what's your mentality going into this game?
Jaren, my mentality going into this game is basically that I'm glad it's on Game Pass.
Right.
Because I think regardless of what I've been hearing, just like about Starfield, and like if I did or didn't hear it, I think if it wasn't on Game Pass, I don't think I would have been playing it either way.
Right.
To be honest. But Jaren, all this talk is really making me hesitant to even dive in, because there's some good games that I really want to be playing, and I don't know if I want to dedicate a lot of time to Starfield or not.
We just need Matt. We just need an episode's worth of hands-on experience to talk about Starfield. And again, Matt, when you think about your previous experience with the Bethesda games, do you usually go in vanilla, or are you a mod person when it comes to these type of games?
I usually go in mostly vanilla.
Yeah.
The stuff that I usually do mod-wise is usually just quality of life stuff. Honestly, most important for me is always remove encumbrance, because I'm that kind of player.
Okay.
And anything else is just kind of, I guess, like, depending on the game, just like quality of life stuff, like maybe adding more fast travel stuff, depending on how that particular game's fast travel system works, or, just player-made bug fixes is important to me as well.
Okay. I haven't looked into it. Maybe that can be a discussion point for next week, Matt. Take a note. See what player mods are kind of out and about already. This is early access weekend. Again, for the final time, not going to let Phil and Todd win on this one. But yeah, next week, Matt, we'll journey into the Starfield. And hopefully we'll see if what Julian says applies to us. But now I'm more hesitant than I was prior to his feedback, Matt. Just because it's one thing to read a bunch of reviews or skim through, a review thread, but it's another to have one of your lifelong friends say, hey, not the greatest. But
see, it's extra bad because I also feel like our gaming habits line up pretty well with Julian's, or like our gaming preferences line up pretty well with Julian's, and I know that he likes this type of game more than me, so it makes me hesitant on how I'm gonna feel about this game.
Putting words into Julian's mouth, I feel like every few months he's either replaying Skyrim or replaying New Vegas with just a new set of mods. So I think in his position, it might be also especially jarring just to go to a vanilla Bethesda experience after even though he's replaying decade-old games now that have just been enhanced through community mods in such a way where, I don't know, Matt, I'm really excited. Might be too strong of words to jump in just to kind of experience it for myself. But you know me, Matt, got to create my main character with the bright pink hair and go off on our adventures.
Oh, Jaren, character asset mods are important too.
Very important, Matt. Because Matt can't have those dirty faces.
no, they're clean faces only.
Clean faces only. But Matt, you said you're a bit hesitant to play some Starfield because there are a lot of games on your current rotation and soon to be in your rotation that you want to play through. But we got to do our weekly check-ins, Matt. Well, I put a bow on a few games we've talked about for 3 weeks in a row. I hear that Baldur's Gate is still strong with you, Matt.
Yeah.
Got to check in on that, Matt. How are your adventures?
Jaren, they're really, really good right now.
Okay.
I'm in Act 3, so kind of all the story threads, whether they are like the main kind of story threads or the really long kind of side threads or even the character arc threads, they're all kind of coming together and they're all tying a bow very nicely. And I don't know, Jaren, playing Baldur's Gate 3, one of the things that's actually making me hesitant for Starfield.
Really?
You know, gotta go back, Jaren, you know,
Okay.
for that good SEO. Because, Jaren, apparently from the review outlets I've been seeing, Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of casting a shadow, I guess, I don't really know how to say this, on the characters in Starfield.
Really?
Because Baldur's Gate 3 is, I think, even like personally, one of my favorite kind of character games.
Okay.
Because I think I haven't really felt this way about characters or character NPCs or party members since like Mass Effect.
Oh, wow.
Where like I genuinely got invested in these characters' stories, and apparently Starfield, the big release of Starfield coming out after the big release of Baldur's Gate, is putting a really like, you know, big shadow on Starfield's character stuff being shallow.
Okay.
Or allegedly shallow. Sorry, Jaren. Allegedly. Well, we'll find out next week.
But Matt, you're talking a real strong game about some of these characters, so I have to ask: so you haven't finished the game, correct?
No. I think I'm maybe only like a third of the way through Act 3 right now. Yeah.
So still some time there. But for someone who has essentially fallen in love with these characters, are there any characters specifically that you want to kind of shout out to or kind of highlight?
I think right now, a story that I kind of really like the telling of, because I also kind of just generally like this kind of story, is Will, who is a warlock in Baldur's Gate 3. And for the people who don't know, within D&D terms, a warlock is a magic caster who gains their magic through making a contract with something else, whether it's like a devil, an angel, or whatever, or like a god or whatever. And in this case, Will has made his contract with a devil, and Jaren, devil's gonna devil. So there's a lot of kind of good ebbing and flowing within his contract of, hey, I have to do this or this devil's gonna kill me. Like, I am contractually obligated to do this, or they're willing to let me out of this contract, but to get out of my contract, I have to do something heinous.
Like make someone sign the contract, or
no.
Okay.
It's more so like do you want to save yourself or do you want to save others? Type of thing. And the whole storyline for this character is about how they are viewed by everybody as a protector. So to have their kind of storyline culminate in a kind of, you have to basically turn your back on everybody who's been counting on you this whole time kind of thing, is it sounds, I know that it sounds like kind of like a generic kind of plot point, but the way that Baldur's Gate has always been doing their choices really gives it weight, because I think it really is sort of a, like I said last week, kind of like gray thing where there is good, there is bad. You can salvage some good from a bad choice, and bad stuff is going to happen from your good choice.
Right.
And I kind of really, really like how that's playing out.
Okay.
And I don't know, kind of just having the Jaren. Okay, so there is this one thing that really bothers me, or like slightly bothers me about the way one of these storylines progressed in Baldur's Gate, which is that for Will, there is a point where if you don't do something, his design is changed, and
like physically,
physically their design is changed.
Okay.
Like as a like story point, and when his design changes, his character portrait changes. And I was very surprised that there was somebody else who goes through kind of a similar thing where they have a less extreme change, but it is a very noticeable change, and their character portrait didn't change. And I actually don't like it because I like their design more after the change.
Right.
And I don't know, it makes me sad that their character portrait didn't change.
I feel like that might be an oversight.
I feel like it is. I'm sure that there's gonna be at some point a mod that's hey, fix this person's character portrait.
I feel like that could be a patch, but yeah, definitely a mod at some point. Yeah. Okay.
So that makes me a bit salty, because that's also like one of the characters I regularly roll with in my party. So their character portrait is just always there, and it's always wrong looking to me.
Oh no, sad Matt. But okay, Will and character portraits aside, I know last week you told me that once you've got into Act 3, there were some instances where you would be talking to a character and they'd tell you something that was completely alien to you, only for you to learn about it, if you a bit into the game later, or after you've played a few more. I don't know why I said it that way. Has instances like that been happening still, or just because you've said that a lot of story threads are now coming together, you're seeing the conclusions to some of those story arcs as well? Is that still something you're running into, or now that you're this far deep, it's kind of settled?
Now that I'm this far deep, it's kind of settled, because a lot of that stuff was all, I guess, towards the very beginning of Act 3 and the end of Act 2. And now that I'm like a little bit more into Act 3, there isn't really any huge reveal point stuff happening. So it's been like pretty smooth so far.
All right.
But Jaren, one thing that I actually didn't realize was going to be so annoying coming into Act 3, which is that, Jaren, up until the beginning of Act 3, you're kind of more so playing in rural-ish areas. So it really is kind of, there's a town here, there's a town like elsewhere, and then in between it, it's all kind of like adventuring wilderness that you can go through. But Act 3 mainly takes place within the city of Baldur's Gate. And there is a lot more NPCs everywhere. And an important thing within D&D is the action economy, Jaren, where you really have to maximize the amount of worth you're getting out of every single action you get, and getting as many actions as you can get. So as a result, some of my characters that I normally play with have skewed into having a lot of, not a lot, but like having minions. And as you get further into the game, obviously you're going to graduate from, having like, wolves and ravens and stuff, which NPCs don't react to going to elementals or demons or whatever, which NPCs are scared of and they run away from. And for the most part, like, it's not too bad because it's just them running away from you. But the annoying thing is that if I'm trying to go talk to a tradesperson, they'll run away from me because I have like the demons with me, and they'll run away, so I have to go chase them for a while. Or I have to switch into turn-based mode so that I can move but they're not running away, and I can like dash at them and talk to them or whatever. And that's not so bad, but the really annoying one is that in a lot of instances, since you're in a city, there is, like, for lack of a better way to say it, it's just like doors everywhere.
Right.
Right? And like, in essence, like lock the doors. So it really becomes a issue when you go to an NPC who has to open a door for you. So like you're talking to them, they say, okay, cool, dialogue's done, we're gonna go open the door, and then they react to your thing, and then they run away, and then the AI, I guess, kind of breaks, and they never go to open the door again. So you have to like reload your save, move your summons out of that room, and then go do that talk, have them open the doors or whatever, and continue as normal. And I feel like that's kind of like, I understand why NPCs would react this way, but I understand that it's very immersive that they react this way, but I wish they didn't.
So you want it to be more of a game in that regard?
In that regard, I want it to be more game than proper realism. Yeah.
Proper realism in my fantasy game. But, Matt, over under, will there be a mod to essentially make your familiars and your minions return to their equivalent Pokeball equivalent?
I hope that there is. Because it would make sense, because for the most part, a lot of these later game minions can teleport around slightly. So, maybe. But I hope that they do either. There is a mod that either disables NPCs reacting to them, or, Pokeballs them.
Man, that kind of... Matt, I hate to admit it, but a lot of the time when you're talking about Baldur's Gate, I mentally think of Diablo.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm kind of thinking about my Necromancer and all their skeletons just running about where, NPCs don't really react to it. But then I also remember, given the setting of Diablo, I think friendly necromanced skeletons and creatures of the like are the least of people's worries here. So I guess that kind of gets the pass. But, Matt, minions aside, what else is up with your time in Baldur's Gate?
Jaren, I said it last week, and I want to say it again this week. The fights in Act 3 are all so good.
Okay.
Because you have, I guess, a full suite of tools now, they've upped the challenge again, where I think it just like feels a lot better to go into these fights where, oh, you are now in one fight far more outnumbered, or in this fight, if you stand in this area, you can't cast, or you can cast spells, but it'll cost you HP now. Or I think they've gotten a lot better about map layout as well. Instead of it always just being open fields, it's like, oh, now you're in a corridor, and it actually matters where people are placed in terms of blocking and whatnot. I don't know. A lot of the fight stuff is getting a lot more interesting just outside of base character building.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's a really, really nice change to see.
All right, Matt.
I don't know.
Now, you're still selling me on this game, Matt, but again, it sounds like a really beefy boy that I'm not sure
Jaren,
I want to invest right now.
Jaren, I think I've said this on the show before, but I'm so kind of like angry, internally like kind of angry all the time that I like this kind of turn-based RTS, not RTS, this turn-based strategy game, like gameplay, because I'm usually not really a fan of this long storytelling kind of style.
Really?
Yeah, like I really liked Wildermyth. I don't remember if I ever talked about that on the show.
It doesn't ring a bell to me.
It's kind of a very short, almost roguelike strategy game.
Okay.
Grid-based strategy game. And the storytelling and that stuff is so light compared to actually any other game. And it's far more based around the combat system. And I really, really wish that... I understand why Larian gave up Divinity Fallen Heroes, which was basically just Divinity Battle Simulator, the game, for Baldur's Gate 3. That makes like a whole lot of sense financially and, like, I guess, long term. but I wish that game was still a thing.
That actually surprises me that you're not really a fan of these types of games. Sorry that I thought you would be, Matt. But with Baldur's Gate 3, I know you've talked about it for so long now, and it's obvious that you're finding so much content here, so much things to enjoy. You just said you love the characters. But what exactly about Baldur's Gate 3 has won you over? And in terms of trying to recommend it to someone, is it based on what you've said, it would seem like this would be a strong recommend from your end, but on a more, say, realistic note, how would you recommend this to someone?
I think that if you want something that has characters that you can really invest yourself into, and you want something that has a lot of kind of good breadcrumbing throughout the story on leading you around to places, I think that this is definitely the game, definitely a game that you should check out, especially if you like turn-based strategy games, because while Dungeons and Dragons, I guess, isn't really, I think, the most customizable system, it is a very good one. And I hope that more kind of quality stuff, because this is a very like high quality product as well, right? And if this isn't an experience that you enjoy, I think like this whole genre is probably a wipe for you, because this is basically the pinnacle of this type of gaming genre.
Okay. And I guess to the first part of that question, what exactly about it speaks to you here, Matt? Now that you've had several dozen hours under your belt, why do you think it has hooked you the way it did?
I mean, partially it's because it is, I think, a good multiplayer experience, because I am both playing it solo and multiplayer, and it lends itself pretty well to multiplayer. But I think, like I said last week, the decision making in this, I think, is very good. It does play in a lot of gray choice, where you're not necessarily going to be like, okay, I'm doing this because I'm the good guy. You're doing this because you can realistically make choices that a JRPG like protagonist isn't gonna make, or I'm a murder hobo and I'm just going to kill like, you can make those choices, but there's a lot of space in between that you can play with, that I really, really appreciate existing within this game.
And I feel like every time you talk about this game, Matt, it feels like something that just the breadth of systems that it has, the level of choice, even to the degree, the level of customization. It's something that I do want to experience to some degree, but at the same time, it is that fantasy element that I'm not, you know me, Matt, that's not really my jam, where, you know, the hope is that everyone sees the success of Baldur's Gate 3, and I know the developers even said that, hey, this is the exception to the rule. We put a notable amount of time into this game, but you would hope that this would inspire a whole, you know, just a brand new scope of developers and game makers that, hey, maybe we can also explore choices like this. And I know that might not be the most feasible thing. Again, this is the exception to the rule, not necessarily the rule itself. But if we could see this level of like dedication to their craft and giving you the same tools, but maybe in different genres and different styles and not necessarily fantasy, I think that is something that I would hope for, where this becomes, you know, this is the next farming sim trend. This is the next Breath of the Wild trend. But I know that's a really heavy ask. And I know you mentioned that, we're playing in a lot of gray. And not to be this guy, Matt, but hearing this level of choice makes me want it to be applied to genres that I am more accustomed to, where I want to see JRPGs kind of explore this. Because, Matt, once we get to that Persona episode, as someone who loves me some Persona, there is some elements to it that I wish could be expanded. And likewise with Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like the expansiveness is there. It's just that setting that I'm not sure if I'm buying into. But that's enough about me and my taste. Matt, closing up, any final thoughts on your weekly, for now, Baldur's Gate 3 check-in?
Baldur's Gate 3, good game. You should play it. Like, or at least, you know what? Watch somebody play it.
Okay. And I feel like, even though you've gone into it a bit, I know the multiplayer aspect is something that you haven't necessarily talked, in greater lengths on this show. And maybe that might be something we can maybe brainstorm how to kind of share your adventures in that regard, kind of down the road. Because from the sounds of it, Matt, your single player and then your multiplayer save files are they, would you say, radically different from one another, or?
They're pretty different in terms of like the choices that we've made.
Yeah.
There were some things that happened within my multiplayer playthrough that I didn't know were going to happen because that choice just wasn't available to me.
Right.
And I don't know, kind of seeing it that way is very interesting to me because it is, I think for me, like as someone who doesn't really replay games that often, it's a very nice way for me to see the other ways the game could play out.
Okay.
Especially in this type of game.
All right. But that's been Baldur's Gate 3. But Matt, I think there should be another game we do our weekly checks in for. And Matt, Armored Core 6. What's the subtitle? Fires of Rubicon?
Something of Rubicon. I don't know what the full title of
Armored
this game
Core
is.
6.
Yes.
Matt, I still haven't completed Chapter 1.
I've just completed Chapter 2.
And I've heard overall that this is roughly a 15 to 20 hour game.
Oh, okay.
But I think I'm at the 8-hour mark just because, Matt, I've been... So it's been a kind of a hectic week for me, so I haven't really been able to game that much. Plus, I'm here in the surrounding areas of the Saturday Morning Arcade Clubhouse. So I haven't really put that much into Armored Core 6 since last time we discussed. And it's so far I've only done a few more missions through Chapter 1, replayed a bit because every time I get a new shop update in my sick and twisted brain, I want to buy all the upgrades first, just in case. And I've been customizing my Mac, Matt.
Yeah.
I have a good Miku color scheme going on. I think I used that as the show art last week. But I hate, Matt, how I'll spend, a good portion of time when I can applying my decals to my Mac. And the moment I need to swap out the parts, it gives me the big fat, hey, we're going to trash your decal placement. And that's really disheartening for me, Matt. But you've played more. So that's Chapter 1 and 2 under your belt, Matt.
Yeah.
And Matt, give it to me straight. How much will I not play this game any further based on your experience?
You don't get as... You get a generous amount of robot parts once you get into Chapter 2.
Yeah.
So you might want to, get there just so that you can, get more parts to play robot dress up with.
Okay.
But I don't know. I felt like the chapter boss for 2 was about the same as about the same difficulty as the boss for Chapter 1. So if the Chapter 1 boss is really holding you back right now, I think you might not like the Chapter 2 boss.
So Nat, give me some tips. I'm still, I think I'm 3 missions off of the Chapter 1 boss. What should I be doing to prepare myself for the real test of if I'm going to continue to play AC6 or not?
Jaren, I think So Jaren, I think that this is really specific to just the bosses, but you need to get very used to, at least for my play style, sticking to the boss.
Okay.
Because I find that for not just the chapter pinnacle bosses, but the kind of bosses that they scatter throughout the chapters, is that they do have kind of I don't know if blind spot is the best term, but usually somewhere close to them, there is a spot that is sort of safe And I find that being able to stick there is very, very important. Jaren, I'll be honest, there is probably a better way to optimize your weapons against every boss.
Right.
But I have kind of just been going in with sword, a bullet gun, an explosive backpack, like missiles, and an energy backpack missiles. So that I get the full like range of weapons, even though you can definitely optimize for whatever boss. And I think the game does expect you to optimize for each boss.
I think every time I hear people talk about AC6, it's, again, Matt, I hate to say it, I hate to be this person, but as much as people like to say Armored Core 6 is its own game, it's not a Dark Souls, equivalent. I feel like the biggest appeal of AC6, from what I've heard, is that trial and error. Is you're going in, getting a lay of the land, and then optimizing your build based on the parts you have access to. And for a lot of people, that's kind of similar to, how they play the Souls games, where I'm going to go into this boss, get the lay of the land, and optimize my fight against that boss in particular. Unless you're me, and it's how can I make sure to hit my Comet Azor and blow through this boss as fast as I can. But given I don't know if it's just my attention span or everything else going on, Matt, I feel like that trial and error / optimization isn't necessarily for me, where even with a few of the bosses I've fought so far, it's okay. I'm sort of getting a feel of how sub-bosses, of course. I'm sort of getting a feel of how what their mechanics are. What's the recommended build? Just so at least I have it in that regard. But Matt, we talked about something this week when it's come to Armored Core, where I know we're playing mouse and keyboard. Sometimes I'll throw in a controller just to see how it feels, because Matt, having to balance your 2 arm weapons, give or take, and then your 2 shoulder weapons, a lot of finger spaghetti. Where, Matt, I'm still tempted, even though I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep playing with AC6, buying some foot pedals.
Jaren, I honestly wish you never brought that idea up to me, because the more I play Armored Core, the more I'm like, Jaren's right. Like, maybe I should buy foot pedals. And I feel like, and if I'm going to buy foot pedals anyway, I might as well figure out how to integrate foot pedals in my day-to-day computer controlling. And I feel like I may soon be down a very pedally slope.
Because, Matt, I changed my keybinds to have my shoulder weapons to my mouse buttons, or, the side mouse buttons. And the current mouse that I use, the Corsair mouse that I use, those side buttons, not the greatest. Like, they don't feel good. They're not really in tune for what I want them to be. Where that I still have that MMO mouse in my old room.
Jaren, I'm using the MMO mouse version. It works great.
Where I think I might get that MMO mouse and bring it back with me. But as you said, Nat, chapter 1 in the books, chapter 2 in the books, how are you feeling about the game, now that you have a good substantial chunk under your belt? And Matt, what's the deal with that one guy whose name keeps appearing in the Steam reviews that I read?
Jared, I don't know what guy you're talking about.
Is it Rusty, or?
I think, isn't he the guy with you on the wall?
Yeah.
I think he might just be a recurring NPC. I don't know if
Matt, are you tabbing through the stories?
No, I'm actually kind of like reading the stories as it's going, but I don't think I've run into Rusty a second time after that mission yet.
Well, all I know is that one Steam review said that person wants to kiss Rusty, so I'm going to put that on the shelf because I'm not informed to make that to continue this conversation. But 2 chapters under your belt, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about the game now compared to last week?
I think I'm getting turned off of the game. Jaren, I like the boss fights for the most part. My issue is that they are becoming less. They're becoming a lot more, or I realized that they were a lot more bullet helly than I did before. And I don't know, something about that is I still have a very hard time realizing when I'm taking a lot of small hits that lead to me actually losing a lot of health. I don't like that, and I don't know if it's just the way that I'm playing, but it almost just feels like I'm DPS checking these bosses.
Right.
Because maybe the playstyle just isn't for me, but I'm not playing in a way where I'm necessarily dodging small hits. I'm more so just dodging the big hits. And I don't know, like it's working for me for now, but I think it might fall off later when maybe they're just not doing small hits anymore. And Jaren, even before, I think I didn't really like the stages. The platforming is it's not really coming up too much, but it's still kind of turning me off when I have to do it. And I don't like that the minor enemies don't matter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, because I think it's very unfortunate that I'm comparing this to Dark Souls, because again, it's not a Dark Souls game, but in Dark Souls, the basic enemies you kind of still have to respect for the most part.
Yeah.
And a genre of game that I never really enjoyed was the Dynasty Warriors type games.
So the Musou games.
Yeah. I couldn't remember that word, so I went with the Dynasty Warriors. But the enemies in this feel like the Dynasty Warrior kind of fodder. And I don't like that feeling. I like having a notable, at least some resistance throughout the whole kind of gameplay loop. And it's all kind of piling up in this kind of feeling of I don't want to play the game. I just want to build robots.
Right.
And I don't know, Jen, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I enjoy kind of dicking around in the arena because, it really is kind of just a one-on-one fight sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's not real people, so I don't have to be scared about them, hurting my feelings.
Okay, fair enough, Matt.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I feel like ultimately that's where I would like to be at a point with the game. I know I said it kind of last week where I was still trying to, learn the flow of the game, learn the flow of combat, and essentially the game's language and how to speak it. But I don't know. I'll put a few more hours into the game and see how I feel. At the very least, I want to complete Chapter 1 because Matt, I finished Operation Wall Climb, and then I finished all the tutorials that they give you. One, it's still wild to me that you don't unlock tutorials until you do the first mission, which is wild. But at the same time, looking at my achievements and seeing at the time it was, hey, only 33% of players have this complete all the tutorial missions achievements. And it was only 34% have Operation Wall Climb, where I instantly thought, cool, what is that? 65% of players dropped before this point? At least I'm not there, Matt. So my goal is to at least finish Chapter 1 and before, all these other big September titles come around. And Matt, hate to admit it, still have a pretty big backlog that I need to get to, especially with, honestly, Matt, it's September now.
Yeah.
December's right around the corner. Let's just face it. I realized that my birthday was literally a month ago, and that made me want to vomit in the parking lot when I thought about it.
Yeah.
And Matt, I feel like just yesterday I was telling you about, hey, it's the start of summer. Matt, it's the end of summer now.
Summer's over.
I have those last Sunday the last Sunday of summer scaries, and it's not it's not a good feeling, Matt. But Armored Core 6, we'll see if we continue with it, Matt. We'll see if you continue past chapter 3. We'll see if I actually finish chapter 1. But at least we have some cool looking robots for the most part, Matt. Matt, what decals are you rocking on your robot right now?
I have been making kind of serial number decals.
Okay.
I'm running with AL134.
Right.
Because, that's like, half my last name and then half of it in lead. Because I'm a dweeb like that.
Of course.
And I've been putting it everywhere. I've also made I'm rocking some of the HoloLive decals as well. But I've also been putting the kind of like, danger signs where it's like, oh, I'm going to put this near a vent because, that's where it would be.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about Jaren, doing the, I don't know if people have done this. I'm assuming they have, but kind of like not smoke trails, but like customized weathering, I guess, type things.
Right,
so like, oil drips or burn marks or stuff like that. Because I feel like that'd be like a nice ad, but then I think about the whole, when you switch it, all the decals fall off, and it makes me not want to do it.
Matt, that's a good level of immersion, but at the same time, I don't want to apply that much effort for it to go away when I need to switch out my build. But Matt, Armored Core 6, still at it.
Still at it,
and we'll see how long we stay at it. Matt, growing up, I loved me some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Same.
And it's actually pretty funny because Turtles to me has a special place in my heart because Matt, we're 90s kids essentially. We grew up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon and Jaren lore, Matt.
Okay.
My first word was turtle, which in turn made my grandpa buy me a Raphael Ninja Turtles like action figure.
Nice.
And I think that's where my affinity from Ninja Turtles has come from. Where I loved Ninja Turtles growing up, man. I had so many toys, had so many vehicles and play sets. But before we kind of get into the Ninja Turtles media that I've been consuming, there was something that I wanted to kind of bring to you when it comes to that childhood nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, Matt, I had all of these Ninja Turtle toys growing up. Wear and tear, years go by. I've probably lost a lot of them. I have a few Lucy's here and there in like my old toy box.
Same.
Like this old cardboard box, like in a closet somewhere. But considering how I am today, Matt, you know me, replaced all those toys that I've chucked around, had my own wrestling leagues, had my own adventures with as a kid, replaced those action figures with displaying anime figures, vinyl toys, and the like. And you look around right now, and not only do you have re-releases of those toys that we've grown up with, but you have more of the hardcore collector brands with their versions of, their licenses of, like the Nikke Ninja Turtle toys look gorgeous. But I feel like as much as I have that affinity for the Ninja Turtles from growing up, I can't bring myself to either rebuy like re-releases or buy those adult collector versions because they're just thinking about it gives me this weird pit in my stomach that I can't explain. And I wanted to kind of get your take on it, Matt, because I know you have a few Power Rangers re-releases.
Yes.
How are you when it comes to kind of buying into nostalgia from things you've had as a child? Because, off the offset, I can see your your Power Ranger stuff and say, oh, okay, this is something that Matt's into. But do you have like do you have like a limit? Like how far do you go into kind of recapturing what you had growing up?
So for me, Jared, like Power Rangers was probably the first franchise, I guess, that I was really, really into.
Yeah.
And at the time of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers kind of re-release of stuff, I had also fallen into like Japanese Super Sentai because it had also been around an anniversary time that brought me back into there as well. So I was very hard nostalgia-ing Power Rangers at that time. And with the re-release, it kind of hit me in two ways for the toys that I have displayed here. Because here I have the Green Ranger's Dragon Flute, I have the standard Morpher, and I have the kind of like I can't remember the name of it, the gun that they had in Power Rangers.
Right.
And for those three toys, those were all three toys that I had the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers release of, the kind of just like old plastic ones, and they kind of have at some point fallen apart, or, you know, they're all faded, or the stickers are coming off, or they're in some way broken. And I thought that getting those again would be very, very nice to have, as because all of those re-releases were released as with die-cast metal parts.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a nice, you know, a nice adult feel to it.
Right.
It makes you feel like, you know, a big boy. And then, Jaren, there's the Megazords of like the Dragon Zord, Titanus, and the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord. All of which are toys that I really, really wanted as a kid, but never had. So, being able to buy those as a mostly functioning adult, I don't know, it really, really hit for me. And I think everything really lined up very well for me with regards to the Power Rangers re-release.
Man, I don't know what it is about me, Matt, because I saw it in your eyes a bit, Matt. There's this kind of pride when it comes to, hey, I have this now. Like, do you think it's something, not to psychoanalyze you, Matt, do you think it's something like, oh, I might not have had this as a kid and now I can kind of recapture it? Or is it a different feeling?
I mean, it's like both, right? Because now I have toys that I had back then for pure nostalgia.
Yeah.
And now I have toys that I couldn't get back then.
Right.
Which for me is almost like I want to say it's like I've grown, but Jaren, I'm like a 30-year-old man collecting Power Rangers toys, so maybe not. But I don't know. Yeah, like it's Jaren. This is the only way I can recapture my youth.
Right.
And we're old boys, Jaren. This is we have to hold on in what ways we can.
In what ways we can, Matt. But yeah, I feel like it's something I've been kind of, you know, not necessarily struggling with, but whenever I'm out and about and I see, the NECA Ninja Turtle stuff, or, you know, just nice Ninja Turtle releases. Likewise, I was really into Beast Wars growing up. Not necessarily a Transformers boy, but a Beast Wars boy. And
Same.
then I'll see the Beast Wars releases, or even, you know, original Beast Wars toys from that back in the day, of, you know, like the characters that weren't actually in the cartoon, but hey, here's like a crab that transforms into a robot or something.
I thought the crab was there, wasn't he?
I don't know. I don't remember. But at the same time, Matt, those are the things I can't bring myself to kind of purchase. And I don't know what it is. It's not necessarily me trying to recapture that feeling, but one of those, I don't want to reopen that door, so to speak, where I'm okay watching it and looking at it in a distance. But at the same time, I don't want to reinvest that effort into that, which is kind of weird to say, considering I'm investing those resources and energy in places that who knows how I'll feel about in a few years. But that, my nostalgia insecure dump aside, Matt, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I've been consuming some of their new media. And the first one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the new movie that came out on my birthday, Matt.
Nice. Happy birthday, Jared.
Thanks, Matt. That was a month ago, which makes me feel real bad. But TMNT Mutant Mayhem is a new animated feature-length film. And Matt, as someone who didn't watch any trailers going into this, I just knew there was a new Ninja Turtles movie and it was getting a lot of positive attention where I didn't even know this movie was coming out. So we ended up going to see the movie last week. And at first glance of the movie, Matt, have you seen any of the trailers for this?
I've seen the trailers for it, yeah, but haven't watched the actual movie.
The art style like immediately stood out to me. Where even though this is a CG movie, it's stylized in a way where it really reminded me of a stop motion animation style. Or kind of like this weird, not necessarily claymation, but it gives that whole aesthetic. Where I was really surprised at it. And it was a bit jarring at first, but I really like how it was overall. I really like how the characters were designed just because, Matt, we've known of Ninja Turtles for, close to 3 decades now.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of different Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle styles back from the cartoon we grew up with to the comic book style, which are more, buff, like jacked turtles, to the more softer, roundish, like new era Ninja Turtles that not necessarily a fan of, but I really did like the style of Mutant Mayhem. And Matt, I know you said you saw the trailers. What did you think when you first saw it?
I was very, very intrigued by it, Jaren. I like the style, and I think the thing that stood out to me the most, and apparently like a lot of people also thought this as well when I was kind of reading reactions and comments on the trailers, was that it's probably the youngest seeming that the Ninja Turtles have been portrayed. And like, Jaren, I guess in the movie, like, did that like play well?
Matt, what I liked about Mutant Mayhem is it is this kind of coming of age story for the Turtles where they are notably younger in this, just because, Matt, for the most part, they are teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But when I think about the Ninja Turtles as a whole, I think more so
young adult
to like early 20s. And I feel like that's how they've always been kind of portrayed, because I think growing up, when I think about the Turtles, I think about April O'Neil and Casey Jones, who April O'Neil is like a newscaster, and that's a big girl job. So these turtles need to be big boys as well. Where, like, with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mutant Mayhem, they are legit teens where they fantasize about going to high school and having these teenage memories. End of summer, Matt, you need those summer memories, of course. And that was kind of not off-putting, but also what caught me off guard of, they're really young. And even their April O'Neil, she's still in high school. And I was thinking, oh, man, this isn't what I was expecting it to be. And made me think, what was I actually expecting? But again, it was kind of nice to see them portrayed at that age, because you get the storyline of, you're really exploring the mental toll of, hey, we're mutants, we're outcasts, and we can't interact with people, essentially humans of our age, just because they won't accept us for who we are. And at its pure foundation, this is a coming of age story that does deal with really heavy themes of prejudice and being able to fit in when you're different. And it's one of those things I've come to appreciate from the movie, because, Matt, when we went to the theater, it was like half kids. Like, it was families taking their kids. And when I left the theater, I'm like, these kids really don't understand the subtext. They just see, like, fun action, cool visuals, and funny fart jokes that, Matt, stop me if you've heard this before, but kids love fart jokes. But at the same time, I was actually really impressed at kind of the overall story it was trying to tell of being different, trying to find acceptance, trying to find where you belong, and what you would do to get that. And I really came away from this movie with a really good appreciation for the story that they were trying to tell. Even though, Matt, it's your tried and true, again, coming of age story trying to fit in. But it was really nice to see it presented in this way as the Ninja Turtles. But, Matt, when it came to the visuals, there was this one scene in particular. You said it before, Matt. We're old boys, and there's this one section of the movie that is really reminiscent of, the infamous hallway scene from Old Boy.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt, I love me when people do their own takes of that scene. And with the Ninja Turtles specifically, slight spoilers for something not necessarily story-based, but production-based, you do get that Old Boy scene of the fight in the hallway, but it not only transitions between each turtle, but it transitions to different settings. So even though it's not one seamless shot, it is still that side profile of them fighting essentially up and down this hall in 4 different locations. And every time it cuts locations, it cuts to a new turtle. And I thought, Matt,
damn,
really great.
I really want to see this scene now.
Didn't know that the Promised Neverland people made Mutant Mayhem. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed this movie. Really do recommend it. Good family fun, and for us old boys, again, that really gets you to think. But that wasn't the only Ninja Turtles thing I consumed recently, Matt. Where I told you I'm here in the area of the Saturday morning arcade clubhouse. And don't got my PC, Matt. Didn't bring my Xbox, so had to make the most of my Apple Arcade subscription. And Matt, recently there was a new Ninja Turtles game called Splintered Fate, released on the iOS or through Apple Arcade. And Matt, have you played Hades?
Yeah. I've given that a look here and there.
Matt, there's something I like about the Nickelodeon games where they're not necessarily these shameless copycats. Like, we have Nickelodeon All-Star Kart and All-Star Brawl, where TMNT Splintered Fates is essentially a Ninja Turtles take on Hades, or a roguelite action game.
Okay.
Where, Matt, tell me if you've heard this before. Our boy Splinter, no, Shredder. Our boy Shredder kidnaps our dad Splinter, and it's up to the Ninja Turtles to go find Splinter. But they have to hop through different portals to find him because magic or something, Matt. So it is a roguelite. I've only done like the first world, which are like sewers, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And it's your tried and true. You go into a new room, a new subsection. You fight a bunch of enemies. You get a passive once you finish a room that will pretty much apply to your run. And you ultimately unlock dragon coins to kind of give you your, standard. That's your currency to buy power-ups.
I see.
That last your entire game. And Matt, the one thing I regret about Splintered Fates is I don't have a controller with me. So I'm forced to use the on-screen touchpad controls. And in terms of quality, Matt, it's what you would expect for a game on Apple Arcade that is trying to be a action roguelite, where it's functional enough, but considering I don't have an actual controller, and Matt, you know how it feels using the on-screen joypad for a mobile game or a touchscreen game. I feel like I'm fighting the controls, and the control that I promise you, it's not a skill issues. I really feel like with the controls, it's hard to actually play this game unless you have an actual controller. Just because, take one of the first bosses, it's your standard, I have all the markers on the ground, like all the bad places that you're not supposed to stand. I need to either dodge out of here, or get into a better position. Back to Armored Core, Matt, find the blind spot and wail away. But when you have on-screen controls that aren't really that, sensitive to what you do, it's really easy for you to miss your dodge window.
Yeah.
Or say that I'm just trying to move away from this area of danger. I'm not stopping where I want to stop just because you don't have that one-to-one feeling. And for a game that has, pretty decent mechanics, it's, how do you want to build? Do you want to build into one of your special moves, your basic attacks? Do you want to have dots? It's your standard affair, man.
Yeah.
You played Hades. Yeah. This is just a lesser version of that.
Actually, Jaren, when you are using a control with your iPad, like which controller do you use? Do you use like a PlayStation or Switch controller? Or?
Just my Xbox one. It's Bluetooth.
Xbox ones are Bluetooth now?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, nice.
Yeah. So... yeah, man, I feel like I still want to give this game a chance just because it plays well enough, but it's, again, Matt, I'm going back to the Monster Hunter feeling of if I'm spoofing, why would I play this game? Where, Matt, honestly, if I'm hooking up a controller to my iPad to play not Hades... why don't I just play Hades at this point? And Matt, Hades 2 right around the corner.
Yeah, Jaren, that's what your Steam Deck is for, right?
That is what my Steam Deck is for. So, TMNT Splintered Fate, if you have an Apple Arcade subscription and you have a controller, I feel like it's decent enough. But again, Matt, it's those on-screen controls that really didn't let me enjoy it to the fullest. But I still have that Apple Arcade subscription until I think the 8th. So
okay.
Matt, I downloaded me some games.
What'd you download, Jaren?
Matt, have you played Ridiculous Fishing?
I keep hearing about this game, and I never get around to playing it.
So Matt, Ridiculous Fishing, I'm playing Ridiculous Fishing X, which is available on Apple Arcade. This has been around for a minute. And it's your typical... I'm trying to think how to explain this game, like a genre of game, but I'll give you the scenario, Matt.
Yeah.
You're a guy on a boat. You cast your line into the water, and the first part is actually what threw me off about the game. One, since I'm on my mobile device, I'm playing on my iPad, it uses, gyro controls. So you're kind of moving the iPad so your fishing line dodges all the fish until you reach the end of your line. And once you reach the end of your line, you bring it back up and try to catch all the fish along the way. And then that, once you catch your fish, you pull it out of the water and you take out your firearm to shoot all the fish in the sky. And that's how you earn your money to buy more power-ups. So you can get a better rod, better weapons, better hats, and you can fish more fish, get different species, and then go on to a different region. And for the most part, Matt, I like it. It's a fun game. And again, it's something that's been out for a minute now, but I do recommend if you have Apple Arcade, or I believe it's on just the store proper, so even if it's on the Google store, probably. But I do recommend Ridiculous Fishing. It's a good... I have some downtime I'm waiting for something. Maybe I'll just do 2 runs of this, just because, again, Matt, the runs are really short. You're just casting your line, you're dodging initially, and then you're catching fish, you're shooting them. Fun is had. But Matt, I told you how I gave up on Project Sakai, and I gave up on D4DJ. But Matt, still plenty of rhythm games on the iPad. And one of those games, Matt, I played was Samba de Amigo, Party to Go. Another rhythm game recently available on Apple Arcade. Matt, with Samba de Amigo on the iPad, it's not a note highway. So, picture a screen with 6 dots in a circle, 3 on each side. And from the middle of that circle, notes come out. You're tapping it. It kind of reminds me of Dancing All Night, really. And with Samba de Amigo, of course, you have the maracas. You don't have that here. And I feel like with the game itself, they try to make some concessions of, okay, when you have to say pose with the maracas, they'll put a pose in the middle of your circle, and you kind of have to tap where the maracas are facing. Likewise, when they want you to, say, shake the maracas or, do a fist pump or something, then you have, to the side of the circle, little motions that you have to kind of swipe to kind of mimic that, which I thought were pretty cool. But one mechanic of Samba de Amigo that really caught me off guard is that during the song, you'll get a item note where you hit the item note and it gives you a little roulette. And essentially, once the roulette spins, you get a challenge modifier for that next section of the song. And so far, I've only come across 2 challenge modifiers. And Matt, as someone who has played, kind of pure rhythm games, quote unquote, not a fan of challenge modifiers. Because, Matt, the 2 I've had so far was little notes where it kind of shrinks all the notes. But it's still like the same tap window. Not a fan of that. But fast note, slow note was the worst of the 2 I experienced.
Is that 2 separate things, or
it's
a fast note and then a slow note after it?
For the next section, you'll get fast notes, slow notes, fast notes, slow notes.
Oh, that's gross.
It goes back and forth within that section. And Matt,
Jared, that sounds awful.
Honestly, when I got that challenge item or whatever, I stopped playing.
Jared, that sounds so fucked up.
But for the most part, Matt, really do like the soundtrack. It's like a good mix of, pop music, covers and original songs. Some that sticks out of mine. You Give Love a Bad Name was there, Matt.
Nice.
Love me some Bon Jovi. You know me, Matt. I love me some Carly Rae Jepsen. I Really Like You was on there. Love me some Rina Sawayama. XS was there. Matt, it's a Sega game. So Escape from the City was on there.
Nice.
Played that right away. But yeah, Samba de Amigo, solid experience on the iPad. And I'm actually really curious now about, the latest Samba de Amigo on the Wii. Just because, the
Wii.
Sorry, I don't know why I said Wii, Matt. The Switch. Matt, that's my old man brain talking. But, yeah, I'm really curious to see how the Switch handles it with the Joy-Cons because, again, Matt, I want that one-to-one tapping. I might not like on-screen controls for action games on the iPad, but I do like them. I like a good touchscreen for my rhythm games. And I'm curious how it kind of plays with, the Switch controllers. To the same point of, Matt, can I give you money for when you go to Japan?
Oh, Jaren?
Yeah.
My trip is getting pushed to April.
Okay, Matt, next April when you go to Japan, can I give you money to buy me the Switch version of Bang Dream Girls Band Party?
Yo, Jared, just come with me.
Oh man, Matt.
Jared, me and Rakush are going.
Matt,
come on! It can be the Mistake Zone boys in Japan. Then we don't have to record episodes ahead of time.
We'll talk after. We'll talk after the pod, Matt. We'll talk after the pod. But yeah, Matt. That has been my Apple Arcade Roundup. TMNT, Splintered Fates, play with the controller. Ridiculous Fishing, go fish ridiculously. And Samba de Amigo, good. It's a rhythm game, Matt. It's a rhythm game on the iPad. What more can you want? But Matt, on the topic of mobile games, Matt,
Jared,
I told you last week. I'm back into it. I'm playing the anime butt shooting game.
How's 2B's butt?
Matt, honestly, Matt. So during the event or whatever in the collab, there is kind of like a world boss equivalent where you party up to face, in lore it's called the Gatekeeper, which in the... Oh, sorry, guys. I'm talking about Nikke, Goddess of War, or whatever it's called, the anime butt game. In lore, the Gatekeeper essentially is this rupture robot. I don't know. Matt, I tabbed through the story. I hate to admit it. But essentially, from what I gather, the Gatekeeper is this omnipresent machine that can bring things from alternate dimensions into the world of Nikke.
So it's an isekai game.
It's an isekai game. Where it was the same thing in the Chainsaw Man collab, where part of this overall collab event is you can fight a world boss, which is the Gatekeeper, and you queue up for this. And when you queue up, you join 4 other people, you fight this boss, you try to survive as long as you can, you get scored, you get rewards accordingly. Matt, I've only played lightly during the Chainsaw Man collab, and now I'm kind of playing a bit more in depth for this Nier collab. And when you play this world boss, everyone gets to pick their character, and for that, similar to Makima in the Chainsaw Man collab, when you unlock Makima, you get her alt costume, which was granted to players after Backlash initially. But essentially, Makima's variant of her costume is her without a jacket. Likewise, Matt, 2B's, variant of her default costume is battle damage 2B, aka it's 2B without her skirt.
Okay, that makes sense for the butt shooting game, yeah.
And that, with the people I've queued up with, so this event at the time of recording has been going on for 4 days now. You essentially get 3 daily attempts at the world boss. So I've faced the world boss around 9 times.
Yeah.
Each of those 9 times, someone had 2B.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I died. I would die after his first major attack because I'm kind of on the lower end of my Nikke's or whatever. And my camera would then go to whoever the 2B was. And 9 out of 9 times, Matt, they're using her non-skirt variant.
Joe, what's the point even of using the skirt variant in the butt shooting game?
And Matt, I'm gonna sound like a prude here. I don't think 2B without the skirt looks good. It's like
you like the mystery, Joe.
It's not necessarily the mystery. I think it's just weird looking. Where, of course, 2B is designed a certain way, but without her skirt and just looking at her shooting her gun, there's something off-putting about it, Matt. But anyway, Nier collab and Nikke. So we looked this up. Sorry, peek behind the curtain, Matt. I googled how to pronounce this, and I already forgot how I'm supposed to pronounce Nikke. So I'm just going to say Nikke. So the Nier collab this week, Banner 1 you get 2B. This Friday when Banner 2 starts, that's when you get A2. And Matt, starting up the game after the patch, the major patch to introduce this collab, you get the first thing that I noticed was that, so I've been playing Nikke for a week prior to the collab, just so I wanted to get some currency so I can save up, pull 2B's banner. And when I started up the game after the update, you get the loading text from Automata, where it's stylized, where you have all the text, like the boot up text in the top right corner, stylized how you saw in Automata, and then it goes into the Nikke proper login screen, where so the Nikke event is kind of built similar to the Chainsaw Man collab, where you get this new hub area exclusively for the event, and there's a lot of things that they put in. One, Matt, they put the hacking mini game from Automata into the game. Nice. So that's like a little bonus. Every day you get a new hacking challenge that you have to do to complete to get currency. And then you have the storyline, which is, again, playing with that whole notion that we really got from Automata of, Android existentialism, but this time with mass-produced Nikkes, and how they react to one another, how the mass-produced ones trying to battle the fact that, we're different than the other mass-produced ones. All the while, 2B and 9S and A2 are just kind of out and about because their transporters broke. They didn't go back to the ship. They get transported to wherever the heck Nikke takes place. So from a storyline perspective, it's hitting everything kind of I want from the vibe of Automata with that existentialism again. So, but other than that, Matt, it's what it is. It's Nikke. I'm logging in. I'm doing my dailies, but it's one of those things where, Matt, we talked about with Monster Hunter now, and with a lot of mobile games, you are gated in a way, especially with the free-to-play ones, where your progress is kind of gated, where you have to either wait it out or you kind of pay money to do it. Where it's the same thing with Nikke, and considering I'm in the honeymoon period right now, the issue is, Matt, once the dailies reset, I'll do everything. You know, I'll do my dailies, have to do what I have to do, and then use my resources that I get to level up as much as I can. And then I'll hit the wall where, okay, I need to wait till the daily reset so I can get more materials, because at this point I can't do anything else in the game. Either I've lost all my entry currency for the event, so I can't do near stuff. My characters aren't strong enough, so I can't do story stuff. And I've done my arenas. I've done all, like, you know, the different daily modes. So there's nothing for me to do. So I have to turn off the app. But I still want to play the game because I'm in the honeymoon period where it's the Pokemon Go thing, Matt, where I'll start up the app, spin my character around, like in the case of Nikke, it's collect like the passive bonuses that your command center stocks up, claim it before it gets capped, and I'm not getting anything. And then I stopped playing, but I want to play more, but I can't because I need to buy money. It's either I pay premium currency to get XP tokens and credits so I can level up my characters, but that feels bad, Matt. I'm going to pay money, it's so I have to roll characters. That's how I look at free to play games. But Matt, so far I'm free to play. By the way, I feel like Matt. So this is how you know something's wrong with me.
Okay.
So Matt, last time I talked about Nikke, Goddess of War, or whatever it's called. When you fight, one of the mechanics is the burst system, where each character has a burst level associated to them. So when your burst meter charges, you can activate your level 1 burst character. They'll do their super essentially, and that will allow you to use your whoever has a level 2 burst. And then once you activate that, you can activate whoever has a level 3 burst. So that's kind of the burst system. And Matt, you know me, I'm a dirty reroller where when I first played Nikke when the Chainsaw Man collab came out, and I rerolled to get one of the top tier characters. So Matt, I rolled one of the top burst 2 characters for my account. I thought, okay, this isn't like the end all be all. That's Scarlet, the burst 3 character, but whatever. I got a burst 2 character. She's top tier. I'm going to roll to try to get Makima in power. Matt? My first roll, I think my second roll, for the Makima banner, I got 2 Makimas in that roll. And then when I rolled the power banner right after, I got power right away. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm done. I uninstalled the game. And I didn't return until the nearer collab was announced. So Matt, played for a week, got as much currency as I could, rolled the 2B banner, got her roll 4. You know, that's fair. But Matt, you get, so those are like the limited banners that have their own like special currency. Then you have the standard banner. Matt so there are 2 other banners, standard banner and your social banner. So essentially every day, if you have a max of friends list, you can send likes to them, they send likes to you, and that gives you the social currency. it's a free currency, whatever, for being friends with people.
Uh-huh.
So Matt, I roll the social banner, get the top tier, burst one character. Thought, that's pretty generous. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Matt rolled the standard banner with the free rolls. I got some, other good characters. But Matt, there are these crystals or like these diamonds where it's another currency of, okay, if I get 50 of the yellow diamonds, I can use that to roll a higher chance to get a free, at least a purple unit, which is like an SR unit. But it will give you a higher chance to get a free SSR unit, which is, the yellow, I guess the 5 stars, the 6 stars, whatever. Matt rolled the purple. I had like a bunch of purple gems saved up. I had 50, so that gave me a 5 pull. Matt got me a dupe of the tier 1 burst star character. And I thought, okay, makes it stronger. Today I rolled my yellow crystals, Matt. Got a dupe of my 2-star, my burst 2 top tier character. And Matt, I feel like I need to thank the game by giving them some sort of money. But those are my mistakes this week, man. Nikke still playing. Gonna roll the A2 banner. Hopefully, crossing my fingers, probably jinxed it. Hopefully I get A2 this week and then I can uninstall again until the next collab to come my way. But Matt, that has been my mobile game roundup for the week. And now, speaking about the Nier collab, gotta pour one out, unfortunately, Matt.
Oh no.
Matt.
Jaren.
A game that I played during the pandemic just because of that Yoko Taro connection. Matt, the game SINoALICE that, I believe Yoko Taro had something to do with. I think it's not necessarily him writing it, but he had some character concepts for it. SINoALICE was this take on, it took classic fairy tales and did it was Nierified, essentially. That aesthetic applied to classic fairy tales. And one of the first collabs, and by I say one of the first, it's like week 1 or so, was the Nier collab, and that was the reason why I wanted to play it. And so they recently announced that, Matt, this November, end of service. And it's something that kind of pains me because 1, Matt loved the aesthetic of SINoALICE. 2, had some really fun collabs, including, I missed it because I uninstalled it at the time and couldn't be bothered to go back. Matt, missed the Kakagurui collab.
Oh, damn.
Where I kind of want to go in and just read the sub-stories there. I know they had a slime collab, which I think that was the last collab that I did.
Kakagurui collab is wild to me for some reason.
I need to go back and read it because I think there's a manga too where now that end of service is here, it's one of those, I should probably just install this again. Just, one last hurrah, see my characters for the last time, take screenshots, of course, of everything that I have. But when I was kind of taking the lay of the land, I think one of the biggest reasons why the player base fell off the way it did, and honestly, it's kind of partly the reason why I quit, back in the pandemic, was one, some of the quality of life features weren't there, where not for a game that had you kind of grinding stages, especially during events, no auto feature.
Oh, what the? That's
so you
like
had
standard,
to manually click every time a new round you wanted a new round to start.
Oh.
Gross, right? But 2, I think it was the Guild Wars mode that really was off-putting to the people because, Matt, that was essentially whale territory. But of course, it's PvP, right? You need to not only whale for characters, but whale for weapons, top-tier weapons at that.
Is it like real PvP?
Yeah. So, Matt, here's why the Guild Wars in SINoALICE turned people off. And when I read about the closing, I was actually shocked that this is how it still worked. So, Matt, say me and you have the Saturday morning guild.
Yeah.
And we have our guild, and we pick our guild time of, 4 p.m. We're both usually free that time. That's when we're going to do our guild v guild. So Matt, that means literally every day at 4 p.m. we need to log into the game to fight another guild who also has a 4 p.m. time slot. And
every day?
Every day.
That's too many days.
And that's what it got, where when I was kind of reading the reception of, that's how it continued to work, where not only are the top guilds full of whales, it's everyone saying, okay, we need to play at this time every day so we can get the maximum guild points, so we can get not only rank on the leaderboards, but get enough arena currency to get the arena weapons. And then I kept thinking, oh man, I remember when I first played SINoALICE back in the day, back in the pandemic, and it's me hopping around different guilds of, if I missed like my time slot, there goes my guild daily that I can't complete. And I feel like that's such a weird commitment.
Yeah.
That you have to apply for such a mobile game, where I'm actually shocked that, 2 years now that it's going into 2-3 years going into closing, that it's still like that way. And I'm actually surprised that people, of course, if you whale hard enough, it's some cost fallacy at that point, but I don't know, Matt. Seeing that was part of the reason why people say, this is it was bleeding players at that point, and you only had the whales at that point to do it. But pouring one out for SINoALICE. Again, love the aesthetic to this game. I think there's a manga out right now, and maybe I'm going to go back to that. I know in terms of a preservation standpoint, you do have a lot of SINoALICE content creators just kind of uploading the story now. So you still have that if you wanted to go through it. But man, Matt, when I saw that SINoALICE is closing, even though it's a game I played before, not actively playing, I kind of think, Matt, that one day all the mobile games that I play will probably end of service. And
man,
if we're still recording Mistake Zone, then Matt, I wonder how different this pour one out will be for a game that I actually have. Let's just say it, Matt. Matt, when Bang Dream closes, because I'm going to assume it's going to close at some point. My conversation of pouring one out will be way different than how I'm reacting to SINoALICE right now. But yeah, pour one out. Check out the story if you're into that, or if you're into that aesthetic. And Matt, anything else on your mind in terms of mistakes this week? I know it's been a beefy episode, but
there was a Super Mario Wonder Direct.
Yeah,
Jaren, that game looks like more side-scrolling Mario that I probably am not going to play. Everybody can turn into elephants.
Matt, what's that the biggest takeaway from the Direct?
Actually, I think for me, Jared, the biggest thing was that the special edition OLED version of the Switch with the Mario Red, the Mario Red edition of the OLED Switch doesn't have the game.
Of course.
I understand why it doesn't. That always throws me off when that sort of thing happens.
That's always been the case, though, right? Like the Pokemon one, how my Animal Crossing one didn't come with Animal Crossing.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that they don't need to come with the thing, but it always throws me off. But I think the biggest thing is everybody can turn into
the elephant.
The elephant.
Okay.
I mean, I guess the Wonder Seed stuff looks cool, but yeah. It really It does look interesting because of the Wonder Seeds, but it also, for me, makes me feel like I don't want to play the game because of the Wonder Seeds.
Is it too out there for you, Matt?
It's not too out there for me. It seems like it's too RNG on if it's going to be good or not.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. But, Matt, another beefy episode this week. And I want to thank you, as always, for not only letting me into the Saturday Morning Arcade Clubhouse, but, just joining me, editing the pod, and just sharing your many mistakes, Matt.
Jaren, I gotta thank you for hosting the episode this week, as always.
Thanks, pal. Who else should we thank this week? Want to thank Julian for giving us his Starfield insight. Want to thank Will, I guess, from Baldur's Gate. I want to thank Rusty,
Maybe.
from AC6.
I think, Jared, we're not gonna know the answer to that one.
I want to thank. Hey Matt,
Mm-hmm.
is Splinter the Turtles' dad?
Technically yes, but for some reason in my head, when I think of their relationship, I think of Grandpa.
Okay, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He's their dad in Mutant Mayhem. I want to thank, adopted father.
Yeah. That makes sense. Did they call him Dad?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
Father or something. Who else should we thank? Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Want to thank my iPad?
Yeah.
I want to thank 2B.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Want to thank 2B's skirt.
Thanks, 2B's skirt.
And yeah, Matt, another beefy episode. My throat's getting dry, so I should probably skedaddle. But Matt, honestly, might drive around your area trying to find a Toby. I'm in too deep, Matt. I'm in too deep.
You're too deep, Jaren. You're too deep.
Matt, I may or may not have dragged my siblings around at 1 a.m. to try to find Toby's. And Matt?
Why did you need to bring them?
Sibling bonding, Matt. Said, hey, we're all in the area. Should do you guys want to tag along?
Wait, hang on, Jaren. I think this is really important. Are they playing?
No. We were just hanging out. While I sketchily drove to random neighborhoods to try to find Toby's. And Matt?
Mm-hmm. No,
why aren't those prime skills dropping, man? Oh, I want to apologize. So it was a Pokemon Pogo Community Day yesterday, and I thought, I know it's a community day, but people have to be playing Monster Hunter. Matt, no one was playing Monster Hunter.
Yeah, that sounds
except
right.
the one guy who joined my Rathalos raid. I want to apologize for that guy because normally I can solo clear a 5-star Rathalos raid, but I couldn't dodge properly because Matt, I was walking through a mall.
Dude, you just stop. Go to the side. The game, Jared. The game tells you to like get somewhere safe or something like that when you start a fight.
I want to apologize to the guy who joined my raid. I swore we could have beat that guy.
Yeah.
I was still walking though. And Matt, we should stop potting. So please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of secondhand Starfield information.
Until next week, man.